guys, so today I'm filming my spring makeup must-haves for 2016. I'll be sharing with you guys my favorite makeup products for eyes, cheeks, lips, and nails. I love pastel makeup so much. I have so many products here to share with you guys. I just love the way that pastels look on my skin. I'll make sure to have everything listed down below so you can refer back to that. And because I have so much makeup in my collection, I do split everything up by season specific colors. And that is not to say that you cannot rock pastels in the winter time. You absolutely can. But to make sure that I am using everything I own, I like to pick out specific products for each season. So I really love what I'm doing with my eyeshadows for this springtime. I have two neutral eye looks that I always gravitate towards. I have one more shimmery neutral undertone, and I have one all matte warm tone. The reason I love wearing those shadows in the spring is so that I can wear pastel cheeks and lips without it looking like too much. And then I've also picked out some beautiful pops of color from ColourPop, MAC, and Makeup Geek. And so for each month during the spring season, I am going to pick a specific brand of those colorful shadows to make sure that they all get some love in combination with these neutral looks. And I feel like that is really going to work for me this spring to get some great use out of everything without being overwhelmed and without neglecting any of the items. So starting off with my shimmery neutral undertone neutral shadows for the spring, this is the Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells Trio. It is fantastic quality. I do go in with a matte transition and brow bone so that it isn't a completely shimmery look, but I really love these colors. I think they're so beautiful, and the undertone I think goes really well with this pastel makeup. And then the all matte warm tone look is from theBalm Meet Matte Nude. I use Matte Malloy on my lid, and as a brow bone highlight I use Matte Sing as a transition and Matte Rosen as a crease color. And then for my colorful shadows, I have three from ColourPop. These are all matte shadows that came out in their spring collection last year. So the first one I have is a Snapdraggon. Next I have the shade Daddy, which I'm wearing on my lower lash line today. And then I have the shade in a Pickle. So then moving on to my MAC shadows, these four right here are the shades that I'm going to be gravitating towards during the springtime. I have Stars and Rockets, Shimmermoss, Expensive Pink, and Free to Be. And then for my Makeup Geek shadows, I'm really going to be reaching for this middle row here, but especially this purple shade Carnival and this mint shade Sure Thing. And then I also have some gorgeous pastel liners from ColourPop. I have pencil liners and gel liners, and these are both in the same shades. So the first one I have is Prance, which is a beautiful cornflower blue. And then I have Zulu, which is more of a minty green. So moving on to cheeks, because I have so many different bronzers, contours, and highlighters in my collection, I have designated a specific one for each season so that I do get proper use out of it. And I actually have two bronzers and two contours for the springtime, but they're pretty different products, so I feel like I would totally get a ton of use out of both of them. So the first bronzer and contour I have would be the Milani Matte Baked Bronzers. These were limited edition, unfortunately. I really hope Milani will make these permanent because I think they're fantastic. So the first one is in the shade Sunset, which is the lighter of the two, and this is what I use as a bronzer and is more on the warm side. And then I have the shade Sienna, which is the darker shade I use to contour, and this is also more on the warm tone side, but I feel like it still makes a nice contour for me. And then I have two of the ColourPop bronzers that I like to use in the springtime. I use the shade Paradise Cove, which is a satin finish, as my bronzer shade, and then I use Skinny Dip, which is the matte finish, as my contour. And for my spring highlighter, I have chosen the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector Pressed, which is basically a white shade, but I really love it with these pastel makeup products. So moving on to blush, of course I have a million. I have a lot of pink and peach blushes. Now pink blush is not particularly my favorite shade to wear. I really only wear it in the springtime, so I want to get use out of all of the pink blushes that I have. My first three blushes are different than all of the rest. I have one cream Flame, and this is the Maybelline Dream Bouncy Blush in the shade Candy Coral. This used to be my holy grail blush. I really do enjoy the formula and this color. Next, I have a color that is very unique to my collection. This is the Makeup Geek blush in the shade Secret Admirer, which is a lavender shade, and this I find is actually very wearable when you blend it out on the skin, at least for my fair skin tone, so I definitely love this one. And my next blush is a red. I know you would not think of this for the springtime. This is the Milani Matte Baked Blush in the shade Bella Rosa. Now I have a get ready with me using this blush, the Balm Meet Matte Nude palette, and a MAC Sheen Supreme lipstick in Asian Flower. I'll have that linked up here because when you see all the products together, the look just works. Moving on into the pink blushes, the first one I have is the Milani Matte Baked Blush in Delizioso Pink, which is another one of my favorite pink blushes. I think it is phenomenal. I also have a Chit Chat get ready with me using this blush and this lipstick with a beautiful neutral eye, so I'll have that linked up here in case you want to check out that look. Next is my second favorite pink blush. This is the theBalm Down Boy. This is a matte neutral tone light pink. When you pair it with something warm, it looks cool, and when you pair it with something cool, it looks warm. Honestly, if I just had these two pink blushes in my collection, I'd be totally satisfied with that. These are my two standouts of my pink blushes. But because I still own the rest of these pink blushes, I want to give them some love too. Maybe I'll end up really just becoming obsessed with them. The first one is a limited edition mini Tarte blush in the shade Fantastic. I have a Clinique Cheek Pop in the shade Pink Pop. And I have the MAC Limited Edition Simpsons blush in the shade Pink Sprinkles. So then moving on to my favorite peach blushes. I have one from ColourPop that I'm wearing today. This is the shade Holiday, which is a really light but neon, beautiful pinky peach shade. I love this one. It's one of my favorite ColourPop blushes. Next, I have two Clinique Cheek Pops. I have the shade Melon Pop and Peach Pop. I really love both of these. Peach Pop has been a favorite of mine for years. Then I have two MAC blushes from the Flamingo Park collection. I promise these are different looking in person. The first shade is What I Fancy, which is a satin finish, and then I have Spring Flock, which is a matte finish. What I Fancy is a bit more light and pink, and Spring Flock is definitely deeper and more coral. My next blush is Benefit Coralista. This is the only Benefit blush I had. It was one of the first gifts that my fiance got for me, so it has some sentimental value to it. It is a beautiful light sherbet shade. And my last peach blush is my favorite out of all of them. This is the Balm Frat Boy. It is a beautiful matte pinky peach. It is more of a muted color. It isn't so bright and intense. I love this blush so much. You guys definitely need to check it out if you don't have it already. So moving on to lip products, I have three color categories: purple, pink, and peach. So starting with purple, first I have one lip liner that I think would go with basically all of these purple lip products, and this is the ColourPop Lippy Pencil in the shade Brills, which is a beautiful matte lavender shade. Then I have a Revlon Just Bitten Kissable Balm Stain in the shade Darling. This may have been discontinued, but if you already own this, I encourage you to pull it out of your collection, and that would be this top swatch. Next I have the ColourPop Lippy Stick in the shade Brills, which is a satin finish, and that would be this second swatch. Then I have the ColourPop Lippy Stick in Corset, which is a hyper glossy finish. This is definitely more pink than Brills, and that would be the third swatch. Next I have the ColourPop Lippy Stick in Pepper, which is a matte finish. This was released in last year's spring collection, and that would be this fourth swatch. And as you can see, this one is definitely the most pink with a purple undertone instead of being purple with a pink undertone. Next I have my MAC Sheen Supreme in the shade Asian Flower, and that would be this swatch right here. And lastly for purple, I have a gloss option. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Lip Gloss in the shade Dusty Lilac, and that would be the bottom swatch. Moving on to the pink lip products, the first one I have is a Revlon Just Bitten Kissable Balm Stain in the shade Cherish, and that would be the top swatch. Next I have what I'm wearing today. This is the Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick in the shade Primrose, and that would be the second swatch. Next I have the Milani Moisture Matte in the shade Matte Blissful, and that would be the third swatch. Next I have a ColourPop Lippy Stick in the shade Westy. This is a matte finish, and it was released in last year's spring collection, and that would be the fourth swatch. Next I have a ColourPop Ultra Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Shimmy, and that would be the fifth swatch here. Next I have a ColourPop Ultra Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Seesaw, and that would be the sixth swatch here. Next I have a gloss option. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Lip Gloss in the shade Peony, and that swatch is second from the bottom. Then I have a drugstore gloss option. This is the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Meringue. I really love wearing this on top of Revlon Primrose, and that would be the bottom swatch. Moving on to peach lip products, I have only a few options here, but I do have a lip liner that would go really well with these products. This is the ColourPop Lippy Pencil in the shade Cake, which may have been discontinued, but if you do own this, I recommend you pull it out and use it with these products. Then I have a ColourPop Lippy Stick in the shade Cake, which is a satin finish. This one may have been discontinued, and that would be this top swatch. Then I have the ColourPop Lippy Stick in the shade Fiesta. This is a cream finish that released last summer, and that would be this second swatch. If you can tell, it seems to be a bit more pink and not as neon, so it's a little more wearable. Then I have a Stila Color Balm lipstick in the shade Avery, and that would be the third swatch. And lastly, for my gloss option, I have the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Maple Blondie, and that would be the bottom swatch. Lastly, for nail polish, I have 4 different color categories: peach, mint, purple, and baby blue. For peach, I have 2 different options. The first one is a Formula X nail polish in the shade Alive, which you can get from Sephora, and this is a very light pinky peach shade. My other option is Essie Stones and Roses. This is a little bit more of a rich color. It isn't as light, but it is still definitely pastel looking, and it is also a pink tone peach. So these are my 2 peach nail polish options. So for mint, I have 3 different options, and these all 3 have a little bit of a different tone to them. So the first one I have is Essie's Blossom Dandy, which is a beautiful blue tone mint color, which I think is the most flattering on my skin tone. Then I also have the OG Sally Hansen Extreme Wear in Mint Sorbet, and this is definitely more of a yellow tone mint nail polish. And the last mint I have is Zoya's Neely, and this is definitely just a really white base green mint, but it doesn't look as yellow green as the Sally Hansen. Then moving on to purple polishes, which are probably my favorite. The first one is one of my holy grail nail polish. This is a Sally Hansen Extreme Wear in the shade Lacy Lilac, which is a very traditional lilac. It is a really white based purple. I think it is so stunning, and it actually looks way prettier on the nail than it does in the bottle, in my opinion. This is also a fantastic formula. If you can find the old version of it, highly recommend. The next polish I have is one of the Berry M Jelly polishes in the shade Prickly Pear, which has a little bit more blue tones to the purple, but it definitely still looks purple. If you can see the difference between these 2 here, this one is a little bit more blue. My next nail polish is another one of my holy grails. This is OPI You're Such a Budapest, and this is a purple tone periwinkle. So this definitely pulls blue, and it really depends on the lighting. It looks totally different inside than it does outside. I find that it even looks different in video than it does in photography. So very unique polish. This one is opaque in 3 coats. I don't mind because I feel like the OPI formula is so easy to work with that they are 3 easy coats. So compared to the Berry M Prickly Pear, you can see Prickly Pear seems a little bit more purple, and the OPI You're Such a Budapest seems even more blue. The next shade I have is Essie's Playdate, and this is definitely more of a lavender radiant orchid shade because it is so much of a pink purple instead of a white based lilac purple. This is so beautiful, and I would say that this isn't traditional pastel. It isn't a neon. It isn't a regular polish. It's somewhere mixed in. It is so bright and beautiful. Definitely recommend this shade. And the last one I have is an effects polish. This is the Zoya Pixie Dust in the shade Stevie, which looks like a gumdrop on your nails. It is a beautiful lilac with some intense silver shimmer in here. It looks amazing on the nail. I definitely recommend this polish. And it's a really great textured polish formula. Lastly, for blue polish, I only have 3. The first one I'm wearing on my nails today, this is Zoya's Blue, spelled B-L-U, and this is a very white based baby blue. It was opaque in 3 coats. This is a really nice formula for a polish that is this pastel. The next polish is Essie Bikini Sotini. This is a beautiful light cornflower baby blue, and this does have some silver shimmer in here, which is very subtle on the nail. And lastly, I have another Berry M Jelly polish. This is in the shade Blueberry, which is a bit more rich. It isn't as light. So compared to Essie Bikini Sotini, you can tell that they both have that more dusty blue look to them, but this one is a lot more rich and this one is more pastel. So guys, this was my very, very long spring makeup must-haves for 2016. I would love to know your must-haves in a comment down below, and let me know your thoughts if you tried out any of these products. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.